Hi, welcome back to Herbal Bunny's Pharmacy. I'm Dr. Tamitha Davis, and we have little Mr. EJ here. We're going to be doing a little bit of a life update in the Herbal Bunny Pharmacy world.
So in 2024, I had my baby via C-section. During that time, I unfortunately had to put my mom into a nursing facility because I could not find somebody to take care of her in her home. During her time in the nursing facility, they never got her out of bed. They never did any sort of physical therapy. She developed blood clots in her legs and she developed 5 bed sores. At 7 weeks postpartum, I decided to get her out of that facility as fast as I could and bring her home. Now, that came with some repercussions. They did turn me into Adult Protective Services because I took her out against their medical advice. She wanted to come home, so it wasn't like I, said, "Mom, you're coming home," and yanked her out of there. She was able to make that decision, and they did not help us whatsoever to get her out to the car. I had to have my husband to lift her up and get her into the van because, like I said, they never got her out of bed. She didn't do any walking, no physical therapy, nothing while she was in there. Getting her home, I'm 7 weeks postpartum, from having a C-section, trying to lift my mother, and that caused some issues with me, so I had to do my own physical therapy, my own treatment, yada, yada, yada. I was able to sign my mom up for occupational therapy and physical therapy at home, which is what she was doing before she went into the nursing facility, to try to help her get her mobility back, and we were giving her treatments for the blood clots and treatments for the UTIs. She also needed to go several times to get her abdomen drained because she did have cirrhosis. A lot of her cirrhosis symptoms started coming back, so she did fill it with abdominal fluid, so she had to go get paracentesis to have the fluid drained off of her stomach. Unfortunately, because she kept having the reoccurring UTIs and a lot of the bed sores, one of them was actually to the bone, so it did get infected in her bone, she later on developed sepsis. In early November of last year, she went into ICU and she was in there for a couple of days, and they told me that she only had 24 to 48 hours to live, that she was starting to transition. She did have like that death rattle where she had like a lot of fluid starting to build up in her lungs, and she started to see things, hallucinate. She was coming in and out of consciousness, and they said that that was the first early signs of dying. So I told them that I wanted to bring her home. Again, they were like, "No, she's not going to be able to make it. She wouldn't make the transfer home, blah, 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 blah." Because at this time, she was also throwing up blood. She was pooping out blood. The blood clots were moving up her legs. They were afraid it was going to go to her lungs. They did eventually put in a little stent in her legs to help capture them, but they said, it still could go a different route and end up in her heart, her lungs, her brain, and she would probably just die anyway. But I was persistent. I said, "No, I don't want her to die in here. She's going to die. I want her to come home." The only way that I could get her to be transported home is if she went home to be on hospice. So I said, "That's fine, because you can come off a hospice on and off a hospice whenever you want to." So I told him, yes, I'll go ahead and I'll take her on hospice. So it took them a few hours to get her signed up for hospice. It was later on that night. It was probably about 8 o'clock in the evening when they said, "Okay, we just got to let you know that she is throwing up blood. She probably won't make it throughout the night." I said, "That's fine. Let's just hurry up and get her home." So we arranged for an ambulance to bring her home. So later that night, it was probably maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning, I was with her and she started to throw up bright red blood, and she saw it. It was quite a bit. It was probably like a cup full. I mean, it had other fluids with it, but she looked at me and she looked at it and she's like, "Do not send me back there." Because I was like freaking out. I'm like, "Okay, we got to get her back to the emergency room." But she's like, "No, I don't want to go back there." I think she knew if she went back there, they would have done something and she probably would have just died anyway. So I said, "Okay, Mom." I gave her some different herbs for her stomach and for bleeding, internal bleeding, and we just kind of waited it out. In the next 12 hours, the bleeding had stopped and she was able to keep some stuff down. Every hour I was giving her some sort of herbal remedy. And I may do another video going into detail of more of the things I was doing for her, but for the sake of this video, I won't do that. So fast forward a couple weeks, the hospice nurse was coming out and she's like, "Your mom's doing pretty well and everything." And I said, yeah, hopefully she's going to be okay. And, you know, they were still like talking that we need to be giving her these narcotics. And she was on 5 different narcotics that they wanted me to give her every couple hours. I didn't give her any of that stuff unless she actually requested. Most of it is for pain management. Unless she was in a lot of pain or a lot of anxiety, because some of the medication was anxiety meds. Unless she actually requested it, I did not give it to her. In that 2 weeks, she was making a lot of improvement. She was moving her legs more, as where before she wasn't able to move her legs because they were in a lot of pain because of the blood clots. Her whole body was just filled with fluid. She had edema everywhere in her body, her arms, her shoulders, her back, her legs, her stomach. All that started to go down. She was no longer spitting up blood. She was able to keep some of the foods and stuff down. She was no longer having diarrhea. Her urine went from milky, bloody to a clear color. And she cognitively was, you know, here, you know, before she was kind of in and out. She didn't have that death rattle. And she was able to feed herself. I would love to tell you that this story has a happy ending and that she is out walking around, but unfortunately, a week later, she did pass away. The reason why she passed away was because we just could not get a hold of the sepsis. I was trying everything that I could to help her with that, but the infection was in her bone and from the reoccurring UTI. And even though the rest of her body was making improvements, unfortunately, that did not. So it was a pretty rough time in my life dealing with, you know, having a baby, having a C-section, and losing my mom all in 1 year. It was pretty tough. But now I have more time to devote to my baby because it was hard for me to try to take care of him and going over there because she needed 24-hour care. And so my brother and I, we would take shifts, and I had friends from my church would go over and sit with her for a couple hours while we took breaks. But now I have more time to spend with my child. I'm trying to look at the brighter side of things. You know, she's no longer in pain. She's not suffering. She don't have to worry about reoccurring UTI problems or liver issues. She don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I don't have to be constantly on edge and worried, okay, am I going to walk in? My mom's going to be dead. You know, those were... it really weighed down on me. And a lot of that stuff really took a toll on my health. I had more gray hairs. I had bags under my eyes. I don't look very well. My autoimmune symptoms started to come back. I started eating poorly because I wanted comfort foods and I didn't feel like cooking. I didn't feel like taking any herbal supplements. I didn't feel like doing any gardening. Last year, I think I grew like 2 plants and that was about it. And I definitely was not feeling like posting any videos. But it's a new year. Life must go on. And I'm grateful and thankful that I have my little guy and that I still have most of my health. So we're going to build on that. So on what's coming new for Herbal Bunnies Pharmacy is kind of my new healing journey. I would like to let you guys join me with, oh my God. So I would like to bring you guys along with me on how I'm going to heal my body, get it back into balance, and some gardening tips and parenting tips. Oh my God, you're so loud. I'm trying to record a video and you're being loud. Oh, I love him. So be on the lookout for more of me and more of him videos coming up, and some different foods that we're going to be eating and different supplements we're going to be taking and what we're growing in our garden this year and just some educational stuff. I want to focus more on that this year. Educational videos, herbal videos, some foraging videos. I'm really looking forward to doing some foraging. I'm going to be taking a mushroom foraging class, and if that is something you guys are interested in tagging along with me on, then please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, hit the thumbs up button to help push this out into the algorithm. I don't post enough, I think, to actually have a whole lot of subscribers at this point, even though I have a couple 300 videos. But I really want to share my story, and I want to share my education that I know, and yeah, I could help somebody. He has really got a hold of my hair. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling because he's getting antsy. I think it might be feeding time. All right, you guys, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Bye!